Hey class, picking up where we left off in our last video, we've now created our section markers in our plan, and those will create these sections. Before I jump to those sections though, since we will be printing these later, if you select a section marker, the other icon that I didn't point out was this little gaps in segments icon. It's this little, I don't even know what you would call that, a break line. You click that, and what that does is it breaks that line, that symbol, which is convenient because we actually don't want to see that line go all the way through the building. I usually show them outside of my dimensions, so I try not to cross dimension lines with them, but it's okay to actually cross actual objects that you're cutting through. Sometimes that ends up where, well, this one here, I would select, and I'd probably just drag that just outside of that dimension line. Now I can go to those building sections and actually see those sections. You'll notice that when I go to one of those sections, the section marker automatically shows up in those other sections. So I'm in the section looking south. I now see the section marker looking west, because section markers are a part of the building model. They will show up in all views. So for this view, I want to set this scale on my sheet to be 1/4 inch equals a foot, and I can move these markers again to just outside of my building. And this works the same way. I can show the crop region here. The crop region here is okay. Yours may look different. I've already modified mine. So I do want to see into the basement in my section, but you can see that the basement is currently filled with this soil hatch. So we've created this topo surface, but we did not create an excavation in that topo surface for this building. So we have to do that so that it removes that hatch or that topo surface or soil essentially from the basement. So to do that, we're going to go back to our site plan. Mine is still under this temporary hide button, which is fine because I do actually want to hide the roofs. Again, I need to get to, actually I don't want to do this in the site plan, I apologize. Let me jump to the basement plan. And what we are going to do is go to the massing and site panel, or sorry, massing and site ribbon. We're going to click the building pad button instead of the topo surface button at this point. And what we are going to do is use our draw options. We're going to use the default one, which is pick walls. We're not going to have an offset in our options bar here. We're simply going to click on these walls. But now the first time you click, you want to make sure you're hovering over the exterior side of the basement wall. And then the rest of these, you don't have to be so careful. You can just click on the wall and it'll automatically click the exterior wall. But we want to click all of these walls. And we're essentially saying to Revit that there is a building site here. And if there is any topography, to cut this area out of that topography. So now we're going to hit the green check mark button. We can close this basement view. I'm going to go ahead and close my site view as well, or my site view. And now you can see in my section view that I no longer have that site hatch within my building because I've essentially cut that out of my building, or out of my site, I should say. Now there's just a few minor things I need to do to clean this drawing up for my sheet. My basement walls, I do not want to see the hatch, so I can select one, right click, override graphics and view, and we're going to do this by category, and we're going to change the surface pattern, the foreground, to be uncheck the visible button. Hit OK, and that turns that off. The rest of these elements that we're cutting through, we're also going to change them so that their cut pattern is going to be a solid black. So we select the roof, right click, override graphics and view by category this time. And we come down here. So far we've been using these surface patterns. We're going to come down to cut pattern, and we're going to change the foreground to be solid fill. We're going to hit OK. What that does is it fills anything that we're cutting through of that category. In this case it was the roof category, and it changes that to a solid black. So we can come here and select a wall, do the same thing, right click, override graphics and view by category, come down to the cut pattern foreground and change that to solid, hit OK. And because we did that to walls, it's going to do all walls, interior and exterior. Next, we're going to grab the floor, do the same thing. And finally, I'm going to come down to my foundation and do the same thing. And by changing the foundation, that's also going to change the slab as well. So now we have this solid black poche filling all of our cut surfaces on our building section. This is essentially complete. You can place this on your sheet, and you're going to want to do that for the section 1 as well. The last thing that we have to do is we need to clean up how our walls meet, our exterior walls meet the foundation. You can see here, let me go to a 3D view. You've probably noticed this in the back, that we have these gaps along here where the walls don't go down to the foundation. So we are going to fix those in elevation. We may actually have to fix them in section elevation, but essentially we are going to select these and drag the bottoms of these walls down. But we're going to do that in a view where we can snap to the top of the foundation, which is hard to do in this 3D view. So I'm going to do those mostly in elevation. So if I hover over a wall, this is the wall perpendicular to this view, I can just drag that handle down to the top of that footing. And essentially what we're doing by dragging the bottom down is we're changing the base offset here in the wall properties. So you can see here that the base offset is 0 feet 0. And we're just doing that graphically by dragging this down. Now, the other thing that we could do is we could select one exterior wall, right click and say select all instances and entire project, which is going to select all exterior walls of this type, and we could simply make that base offset what it was for this when we drug it down, which is -10 3/4. So I'll do that again. Select all instances and entire project, base offset -10 3/4 inch. When you hit apply, that's going to apply that to all walls. That speeds things up. I don't have to go around to each wall and drag the bottom down. And that looks correct. You can see in our north view, we no longer have that gap at the bottom of our foundation. That's the last bit of editing that we actually have to do to the model. The rest is just placing these sections on the sheets that you'll create in here for those sections and placing the elevations on sheets for those elevations. And that's the entire project or the entire assignment for this week. Thanks.